As popes go, he leans to the side of the unpredictable. To the side of the playful. And certainly to the intensely popular.
We love him and we are proud of him.
The public image of Pope Francis eclipses many of his predecessors. His message is even more potent. Because impulsive, yes, and yet he knows what to say and exactly when to say it, calculated for maximum effect.
He's deeply involved. And he has that great gift, I think that many great leaders have, which is that he pays full attention to what we're dealing with at the moment.
At the moment, with world leaders preparing to look at global emissions again, climate change is back on the world's agenda. And at this bird sanctuary just outside Rome, that provides both renewed hope and a renewed sense of urgency.
If you want to save the world and the population, you have to take care of the climate changing in a very strong way and fastly. We can't wait 30 years. Otherwise, everything will be destroyed.
It is exactly the Pope's argument, a defense of our common home that he's laid out methodically over the past few months. And a message he delivered within minutes of starting to speak at the White House today.
It seems clear to me also that climate change is a problem we can no longer be left to a future generation.
Alla sinistra rotta, poi dobbiamo mettere un'altra fascetta lì alle oche, manca.
For Alessandro Pollinori, who created the bird sanctuary from a polluted pile of filth, the Pope's choice of name was the first signal he could become a powerful ally in a cause he adopted when he was 9. Saint Francis is the patron saint of ecology.
And since the beginning, he decided to be called Francesco. So I say, this is something very good, I think. And I think that the message is widespreading all over the world to respect the nature, to live in a simple way and not to destroy the environment is very, very strong and important.
Artfully, the Pope timed his 40,000-word manifesto on the subject for early summer. The message, as well as saving souls, the Pope seems to want to also save the planet, working furiously to ensure he'd have his say.
But in this case, the Holy Father made it very clear that he really wanted the encyclical out before this time when the nations of the world are going to be gathering, first in New York about the Sustainable Development Goals and then in Paris about the climate control.
Canadian Jesuit Father Michael Cherney works for the Vatican department that helped write the first draft.
The real point is to encourage leaders and citizens and everyone to face the issues. It looks like a serious decision about the use of fossil fuels is absolutely essential. What we cannot do is continue burning them and just trust blindly that things are going to work out all right.
As well as timing, what the encyclical or papal letter also has going is that it's packaged for wide appeal. It also has wide scope, linking climate change to capitalism and preaching a whole different way of life. Not only does it speak plainly of the urgent need to cut carbon emissions, it blames both highly polluting fossil fuels and a throwaway culture. It speaks of the tragic effects on the world's poorest, a rebuke using phrases like self-destructive, serious disrepair, and the damage we have done. Previous popes have spoken out about the environment, but none made it such a priority. Pope Francis is essentially moving doing your part for the environment into the realm of obligation. But will that translate into action? In theory, with 1.2 billion followers, the Pope could tip the balance, ensuring faith trumps all other interests getting in the way of fighting man-made climate change. But it isn't that simple, especially in the cradle of capitalism, where the Pope's message could face its toughest audience yet.
I'm a little skeptical about this.
Where even prominent Catholics have questioned the Pope's message, one that sided with science and landed smack in the middle of a Republican leadership race. Some of them advised the Pope to stay out of science, but he charged ahead, organizing a conference at the Vatican.
It's how we ended up with a temperature target.
And recruiting perhaps surprisingly like-minded activist Naomi Klein to speak.
Most of us aren't scientists, so that doesn't make him unusual. But all of us have to decide. You can't say, well, we just don't know or we don't care. You have to decide. So you do your best and you use the science as best you can, and that's what everyone does. And the Holy Father has done that too.
That is not.
And so his message is embraced by many environmentally minded in the U.S., even if they disagree with more controversial Catholic teachings.
He's the vicar of Christ, your God. Shouldn't you have the humility to say, well, if the Pope thinks climate change is a problem, maybe I should?
I think there's some reason.
Francis Roca covers the Vatican full-time.
The United States obviously plays a disproportionate role in all these questions just because it's the largest economy and just because it's so rich and so powerful. It's hard to imagine that at the level of leadership he's changing minds. I mean, there are a lot of people who agree with him and who are happy to invoke him, that's for sure.
Ignoring the doubts, the Pope pushed on, inviting more than 60 mayors to discuss the environment and modern slavery, engaging a level of government further along in fighting climate change than many national ones. The most important work is done from the periphery to the center, he says. That is to say, from you to the conscience of humankind. They were thrilled to have such a powerful man of God on their side. Vancouver's mayor, Gregor Robertson, was the only Canadian invited.
It's ridiculous to say the Pope shouldn't be involved. He does have a very, very strong academic team supporting his work, and at the same time, this essentially is a moral issue now. It's irrefutable right now. We have to be taking action, and having the Pope weigh in from a moral perspective and also rally other religious leaders, I think, is really important to the work that we have to do ahead.
Back at the Vatican, it's one of the hottest weeks of the year, unusually hot. The Church is marking its first annual World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation, an idea borrowed from the Orthodox Church.
It's already making a difference, and it's calling all of us, Christians and non-Christians, to make a difference. And this prayer today is a sign of this.
Action is necessary now, says Father Cherney.
He says, what kind of a world do we want to leave for our children? So, if it doesn't matter, well, go ahead and live as you used to live. But if it matters, and if you realize that the way you are consuming, producing, and so on is having an effect, then that's an important decision. And you can't just hope for the best.
In front of us, you can see a gray heron.
Paul Honori has always had the long view in his sights, living what the Pope now preaches. But having his blessing can only help, he says.
Common people follow the Pope. They consider the Pope like a real leader, you understand what I mean? So I think that nobody can be stronger than the Pope on this topic. Also, some other previous popes talk about this, but not in this stronger way. So I think that should be really an important moment, and I hope that all the world follow this.
On this, he could very well just be preaching to the converted. It may be, though, the best test yet of the Pope's actual power to bring about change. Nala Ayed, CBC News, Vatican City.